Hi, if you look on your lecture study guide, our next objective is explain how carbon monoxide affects aerobic cellular respiration and the consequences. So after talking about the electron transport chain, hopefully you understand the idea that as long as the electron transport chain is going, we're getting these electrons from NADH and FADH, and they're passing down the electron transport chain. Oxygen's taking the last electron away, leaving as water. As long as that's happening, we're making a lot of ATP. ATP synthase is driven. So if we go back to thinking about this whole thing as people passing beach balls down a row of people. So each one of these electron carrying molecules is a person. We're passing electrons as beach balls. Carbon monoxide is a waste product of combustion. So it's CO instead of CO2 for carbon dioxide. And CO is actually really toxic to aerobic cells. And the reason for that is that carbon monoxide sticks to this last electron carrier. Think about this beach ball being passed down all these people, and the last guy grabs onto that beach ball, but he can't let go of it. Maybe it's magnetically attached to him or something. He can't let go of that beach ball. And that's what happens with carbon monoxide. So even though oxygen comes here to pick up the electrons from this last electron carrier and to convert that oxygen to water, it can't take away those electrons. They're stuck on that last electron carrier. And so carbon monoxide gets stuck to our electron carriers in our cells. And so what happens is the electrons start backing up, and eventually the electron transport chain can't pass electrons down because all these are filled with electrons. There's nowhere for them to go because this last one can't let go of their electrons. And so think about any condition that somebody has where they don't have a fully functioning electron transport chain. Well, you can imagine the symptoms of disease. The first thing you should think about is, oh wait, ATP is the energy we use for our cells. It's the energy that makes our neurons function. It's the energy that makes our muscles move. Everything is dependent upon energy in the form of ATP. If you're not making enough ATP, you're going to feel very tired. And it's going to eventually be deadly. And not eventually, but fairly quickly, if you can't make enough ATP. So carbon monoxide poisoning works directly with the electron transport chain and prevents you from making ATP. So you would notice that somebody with carbon monoxide poisoning is very severely fatigued to the point that they eventually fall asleep and die. Okay. I'm going to go on to another topic. So if we go back to our concept map that we had, we said we have cellular respiration, and that's what we just talked about, aerobic cellular respiration. But remember we said some bacteria, and actually even some eukaryotic cells, can do some carbohydrate catabolism anaerobically without oxygen. So the first one we're going to talk about is anaerobic respiration. And anaerobic respiration is only present in some bacteria. So it says, give a general description of anaerobic respiration and the kinds of organisms that do this, and distinguish it from aerobic respiration and fermentation. I'm going to use the same picture. Here's fermentation. We're going to continue to ignore that. But you'll notice in your lecture study guide, I put another page of that exact same picture just for you to draw on so you can write on it. And so what I'm going to tell you about anaerobic respiration is, again, most bacteria don't do this, but there are some that do. And obviously, they are called anaerobes. They don't need oxygen. Now, you go back into your metabolic pathway here, and you recall, where did we use oxygen? Well, the only place we added oxygen was right here at the final electron acceptor, or terminal electron acceptor. Oxygen went on, picked up the electrons from the electron transport chain, generated water, and just kept this going. In anaerobic respiration, you have something here other than oxygen. And so here's the examples. Nitrate to nitrite. So here would be the nitrate, here would be the nitrite. Sulfate to hydrogen sulfide. Here would be the sulfate to the hydrogen sulfide. Carbonate to methane. And again, instead of oxygen, we'd have carbonate and it would turn into methane. You know about a couple of these. Some of these, this one here, have you ever smelled that like rotten egg smell? I've smelled it like associated with swamps. A swamp is an area that there's standing water, lots of organic matter, but the water's not moving quickly. That's the nature of a swamp. Otherwise, it'd be a creek or a river, right? The water's not moving very quickly, therefore there's not a lot of oxygen mixing in with the water. So a lot of the organisms that live in swamps, a lot of the microorganisms would be anaerobes. And some of them have the enzymes that allow them to use sulfate and generate hydrogen sulfide, that rotten egg smell. If you might smell it coming out of your drains. And it might be because you have biofilms in your pipes. And those biofilms, a lot of the biofilm is under anaerobic conditions, and there's bacteria in there that generate hydrogen sulfide. So you're getting a lot of that. You might put some bleach down your drains to kind of kill some of those biofilms. This one you know about because we talk about methane. So as a final electron acceptor, carbonate, different carbon compounds can be used to generate methane. And methane is a flammable gas, and it actually is a greenhouse gas. And we're worried about this with climate change. Carbon dioxide is a greenhouse gas, but methane is 10 times more potent. So in some areas where there's anaerobic, a lot of anaerobic metabolism, that you might be generating more methane and contributing to the greenhouse effect, the climate change and the global warming with adding carbon to the atmosphere. So the anaerobic respiration is very similar to aerobic cellular respiration, with this main exception: the final electron acceptor is something other than oxygen. The other thing I want to tell you is there are some differences, little bit of differences in the Krebs cycle and electron transport chain, that you end up getting less ATP anaerobically, even when you're using anaerobic respiration. So you're going to get less ATP than anaerobically than you would aerobically. So anaerobic bacteria would typically grow more slowly than aerobic bacteria. It says if less ATP is produced, what happens to growth rate? Growth rate's going to slow down. I just wanted to show you this. Here's an example of some methanogens, some methane-producing bacteria, anaerobic respiration. There's a lot of cows have 4 different stomachs that allow them to digest all that grass and get energy out of it. And they have a special stomach called a rumen, where there's a lot of bacteria that can take carbonate and generate methane. And that methane that they burp out or they fart out, like I said, is a greenhouse gas. So some people are saying, how do we get our cows to produce less methane? And here's a cow that's got a tube hooked up to its rumen, and it's collecting that methane gas.